because we're a family as well. When you're
we have the tools, we have the talent. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Miller time on this Thursday. Wow, the 12th day of July. Both the week and the year have gone by quickly.
We are full on into the second half of the year already.
We are. I mean, we're, 2 weeks away from the start of high school football training camps, right at the end of July into that first part of August, so that they have 4 weeks of practice, really 2 weeks to practice. Then they'll play a scrimmage game. Then they'll have that next week to work on those things, then play a scrimmage game. And then, boom, you're into game week. That is right around the corner. That's how quickly this summer has gone by.
It's not a bad thing.
No, not a bad thing at all.
When football's right around the corner, it's never a bad thing.
I don't know, though. As a football player, how excited were you to get the season started, when you would get it started? Because
which part of the season?
Well,
you're talking about the season. Are you talking season as in games or season as in 2-a-days in August?
Well, that's the thing. The season starts with 2-a-days in August. Without those, you're probably not going to have a very good season. So, it's the end of July. It's still hot. Baseball's still going on. You're still not really probably thinking football because it's still baseball season and the temperatures and the weather and so forth. And then, boom, you're thrown right into it. It's got to be a mixed emotional time for high school and college football players alike.
It was mixed. I know when you first went in the couple days before practices start and you got all your equipment, that was a fun day.
You're excited.
Because you're looking, all right, I got the helmet, I got the shoulder pad, I got everything, my locker's ready. And then the first day, you obviously have those, the first couple days actually, you have those beginning of the year butterflies, which I still think, after playing football for a long period of time, you still got every single year. And then after about the third day, and it was 90 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're running around in a 13-pound helmet and shoulder pads that are tightening your chest up, making it harder to breathe. At that point, it was, okay, why am I doing this again? But then as it got closer and closer to the game, and when you got in a rhythm of having school and then going to practice afterward and working your way towards Friday, that's when it got fun again.
Did your coaching staff look at 2-a-days as like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon? Would you go 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening? Would you kind of combine the two and really just have a short break in between?
What we did for 3 of the 4 years, again, I went to high school in Maryland, not West Virginia, so the rules were a little bit different. But my freshman through junior year, it was 2 hours from 7 to 9 in the morning with straight conditioning. You were in full gear as much as you could be because it's still the helmets only for a few days. Then went to shoulder pads for a few days, then full gear. So it was 2 hours of that. Then you'd take a break and you'd have about an hour to hang out, get some food, get something to drink, just chill. And then it was 4.5 or 5 hours of actual practice. And that's what the 2 days were for the first 3 years. And then when the hour limit for how long you could be out at one time and all that kicked in, which was awesome when it did kick in. And in certain ways, in some ways you weren't as conditioned or weren't as prepared when those first couple scrimmages came around. But then it was just, okay, we went 3 hours in the morning. Then if you wanted to go any more, you had to have at least 2 hours. But then after that, you could only do an hour at a time after. So it was pretty much, my senior year was 3 hours, a 2-hour break, and then an hour, and then we were done. So it turned into practice in the first 3 hours, a 2-hour break where a lot of times we'd go to the weight room or go watch film or something like that. You just couldn't be on the field. And then we'd come back out and do an hour conditioning.
Which the conditioning had to feel worse probably at the end of practice than your prior years where maybe you conditioned in the morning.
It felt worse, but in a way, you felt like you got more out of it. At the end of a practice, the conditioning for the first couple hours and then taking a break and then having practice, you were still dog tired.
Mm-hmm.
When you had the 3 hours of full-on hitting and practice and all that, and then took a little bit of break, then came out and had to push yourself for an hour, and push yourself even harder than you had the previous 3 years because it was only an hour. It wasn't 2 hours or 2.5 hours of conditioning where they could spread it out and give you some more breaks. It was, all right, we got 2 hours of conditioning to cram into an hour, so you're going to work for the next hour. So in a way, you felt more accomplished and you felt like you had gotten more out of that hour.
All right, let's take this from the high school level to the NFL level.
Well, they don't hardly practice.
That's part of my point. It seems apparently part of the last collective bargaining agreement. That's the agreement between the Players Association and the league owners. Demanded, I guess, a little more free time or downtime or off time. I'm assuming the whole idea was the attempt to control injuries and maybe be a little fresher. But I think what it's done is water down the game a little bit because, let's face it, there have been a lot of penalties and a lot of bad play in the NFL in recent years.
Well, how often, I know you're not a TV guy, but how often do you see clips of an NFL practice and guys are in helmets and shoulder pads and they're wearing shorts, and the minute there's anything close to contact, a whistle's blown? Or the minute they get through a drill, they kind of slow down and kind of walk the rest of the drill out. I mean, it's, to me, you look at the way the NFL players practice, and it's not new. I don't think it's necessarily the new collective bargaining agreement. I think it's just the way the NFL has transitioned over the years. But I remember watching it, being in high school and doing the 7 hours a day of practice and then turning on Redskin Nation at night and seeing clips of practice and going, that's how the NFL guys are practicing? And I'm in those guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And I'm in high school and I just worked 20 times as hard as they did for a longer period of time. I mean, maybe it's the reward for finally getting to that level. But, and then you hear about people holding out of training camp. What are you holding out of? A chance to get in a little bit better shape before the season starts? At that point, I think it's just laziness.
Well, it could be a little of that, just wanting to get out of being at training camp. All right, I'll hold out over a contract or whatever. But yeah, I again, the NFL training camps are right around the corner as well. Well, within the next week. Yeah. And, they'll get started. And again, you question sometimes the work that gets done. To me, I think a lot of that, when you take the contact out, I think it's hard to practice offensive and defensive line. I mean, if you're not pounding a little bit in there, how do you get better as an offensive lineman? How do you really work on technique and get better as a defensive lineman?
Not even technique on the line. Look at how much throwing your body at people has become tackling now.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's because you're not practicing the proper wrap up and take to the ground in practice anymore. Because, again, you're never taught to lead with your shoulder or your head. You're taught to put your shoulder into somebody and grab the straps on the back of their shoulder pads and rip them to the ground. There may be one or two coaches out there that are bad coaches that say, oh, you get them with the highlight, throw your shoulder at them. But 99.9% of coaches from Pop Warner all the way through college into the NFL, I don't think ever teach you to not wrap up when you're tackling somebody. I think that's partially the reason why you see so much of the so-called highlight hits now is because their NFL players aren't practicing that anymore.
Well, look at the NFL and look at how many big plays occur because of broken tackles and how many of those broken tackles occur because nobody's there to wrap up.
The Stephon Diggs catch in the NFC Championship.
All you got to do is come up, break down, let him catch it, make the tackle, and the New Orleans Saints are moving on.
When you look at that, and it's not just, okay, one-on-one tackles when you wrap up are hard enough. If you try to wrap up somebody, the odds they're just going to shed you completely off before the rest of your teammates get there to help bring them down are very slim. So even if you're not getting the full-on tackle, you're slowing a guy down enough that he's going to get tackled. So, yeah, I just never understood. I watch the NFL religiously on Sundays and Monday nights, and watching some of the hits that people have tried to lay over the last 10 years since that's real hit stick mentality became popular.
Yep.
And you're watching it going, where are these guys learning to do this? And while I think the penalties are, how do I want to say this? I think the penalties that are given are a little extreme sometimes. I think there are some good quality shoulder to shoulder hits.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the penalties and the fines that are starting to be given out because it's going to take away guys trying to illegally dehead people, decapitate people.
Right.
I think it's going to bring back the art of the form tackle, which if you watch an inside linebacker form tackle and rip to the ground a running back, I'd rather see that than a hit stick tackle.
Well,
than a guy miss a tackle 10 times and get one highlight tackle. I love to see it. London Fletcher was the king of roam in the middle of the field. A running back would hit a hole between the guard and tackle, and he would come out of nowhere, throw his head across the front of their chest, and wrap up and bring to the ground. It was a beautiful thing.
And at what point are coaches, not in the ears of these players, going, hey, keep your head up, make the tackle, keep your feet on the ground, or, because you're seeing so many of those busted plays, broken tackles, big plays that occur because someone's going after the big hit. Let's get back to fundamental football.
Yeah.
Good fundamental football is fun to watch.
It is.
More fun than seeing one or two huge hits somewhere with a lot of other bad plays sandwiched in between.
That's why people ask me what my favorite level of football is every now and again. I'll say, you know what? It's hard to say high school isn't, just because of the love for the game that high school kids have and the fundamental aspects of the game that are still there. I mean, obviously you like the talent level of the NFL,
right,
or the talent level of college, but sitting back and watching two good high school teams play each other is, to me, one of the best levels of football you can get, where there is talent, they know what they're doing, there's the heart of the game still in there 100%, and it's the way football's supposed to be played.
Well, we'll keep talking a little NFL football and the Players Association and owners, as it looks like the battle will continue over the national anthem protest. We'll have more on that next on Miller Time.
What words come to mind when you think of Honda? Reliable should be one. Fun, that's a good one. How about stunning, comfortable, refined? I could go on, but there is one word that sums up every Honda. Quality. Because Honda was KBB.com's 2018 best overall brand. And we worked hard to earn that honor. Because without quality, nothing else you call a Honda matters. So whether you choose the sizzling Civic, acclaimed Accord, adventurous HRV, fearless Fit, awesome Odyssey, conscientious Clarity, remarkable Ridgeline, polished Pilot, or sporty CRV, you know you're getting Honda quality that's truly unmatched. In fact, we make sure of it. So visit your local Honda dealer and get into KBB.com's 2018 best overall brand.
Miller Honda, south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 Brand Image Awards from Kelly Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
Hello, this is Delegate Mike Folk, candidate for West Virginia Senate District 16. I want to extend my personal congratulations to all the Little League All-Stars this summer. As a former three-sport athlete and Shepherd football player, I understand the importance of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, something our All-Stars have in common. As you continue your journey through this summer and your life, remember this quote from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, who said, "Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't." Best of luck and have a great tournament.
I'm Ari Wolf with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Ravens rookies back at work Wednesday in Owings Mills, the first of the 32 teams to kick off their training camp. All eyes on rookie quarterback Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. The first-year players get 8 days to themselves before the rest of the veterans report to camp. Baltimore is starting camp earlier than most of the league due to their participation in the Hall of Fame game in Canton on August 2nd against the Bears. So Sean McCoy has hired a high-profile attorney as police continue to investigate a home invasion that left McCoy's former girlfriend hospitalized. The attorney, Don Samuel, also defended Ray Lewis and has yet to release a statement. But an attorney for the woman involved released a statement on Tuesday night saying someone broke into the house and attacked McCoy's former girlfriend, taking pieces of jewelry the Bills running back had given her, but tried to get back. McCoy has denied any involvement in the attack. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
If
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call this toll-free number right now, 800-390-9528. That's 800-390-9528. By calling your addiction team, you're taking the first steps to recovery. The help you need could be one call away. 800-390-9528. Make the free call now. 800-390-9528. Your addiction team is a third-party advertiser for various treatment centers and placement networks. Individual results will vary. Visit youraddictionteam.com/terms for more information.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance.
Eight 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com.
Possibilities are all around us. We see places, and when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world. Together, we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved at Rotary.org.
And listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude.
Oil, that is.
Black gold.
Texas tea. Hey, we welcome you back into Miller Time, along with Jed. I'm Matt. No, it's Matt Miller and Matt Crawford as we welcome you back in. Any particular reason for the choice of music there? Just
no, I saw it and figured you'd appreciate it. The Beverly Hillbillies were way before my time, but I figured that you may have grown up watching the Beverly Hillbillies.
I think I was still probably watching reruns even in my younger days.
That was a 60s show.
Well, and I was late 60s.
You were late 60s?
I was late 60s.
Early to mid 60s.
No, I'm not that old. I'm pushing it, but I'm not that old. So, hey, going into the break, we were talking a little bit about football and just getting it started, really thinking of how quick the summer's going by, the fact that NFL training camps will be very soon, the fact that high school football camps will be opening in only a few weeks, and that means the season is getting that much closer. Well, heading into the NFL season, the league's owners at their meeting, what was it, in May? Was it in March? I'm trying to think if it was...
I think there's two. Because I think there is one right before... There's definitely one right before the draft.
Right.
I think there's a team meeting, and then I think there's an owners meeting. I think there's two different...
Well, this was the owners meeting where they put together the new NFL policy for the national anthem, basically saying if you're going to be on the field, you need to stand for the national anthem. If you do not want to stand for the national anthem, then it's A-okay, stay in the locker room while the anthem is played, and then come out and join your teammates and get ready to play football. If players say, no, I still am going to go out and protest, then fines would come, from what I've read, mostly to the teams, basically, not to the players themselves. Well, the NFL Players Association filed a grievance earlier this week with the league to challenge that new national anthem policy. They said, number one, that it was imposed without consultation and therefore broke the collective bargaining agreement. And secondly, they said it infringes on the players' rights. And for those two reasons, they were filing a grievance against the league.
I have mixed feelings. The first point you made where they were mad because there was no consultation between the NFLPA and the NFL owners, because that was a rule in the CBA that was made the most recent CBA. If that's the case, then the NFL is at fault there. If there's some sort of protocol that needs to be made, and it's you have to talk to one another when it is a rule that involves the players. Obviously, they're not going to make you go back and forth if it involves the fan experience or the stadiums or anything like that. But if it involves the players and the NFL owners and the NFL Players Association leaders have to be consulted, then okay, I get that. If they broke that rule, I'm okay with them filing a grievance.
All right. Before we go any further, do you know? I don't, so I'm just throwing this out there. And if someone out there listening knows, give us a call, 304-263-6540, 263-6540. Were the players involved and or the representation from the Players Association involved in rule changes related to determining what is a catch, or rule changes in kickoffs and the other various rule changes that were made by the NFL? Or was that simply the rules committee of the NFL proposing these and the owners then agreeing on them? Because those are things that clearly affect the players and how the game is being played.
I would think that is just a rules committee. I think if every rule you made in the NFL had to go back and forth with the NFLPA and the owners, nothing would ever get done. But I don't know that for sure. It could have been, could have not been. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
I'm just thinking if there is something that affects the players so much as to how the game is being played. And this year, from what I've been reading, the aspect of this new helmet-to-helmet contact rule is going to be absolutely hard to deal with. And there are going to be situations in the early part of the season, probably an exhibition play, that are just going to leave us scratching our heads whether a player should have been penalized or ejected or whatever. I just figure if there are rules like that and it doesn't necessarily go through the Players Association, I'm wondering what part of the collective bargaining agreement they could look at and say, well, you imposed this without consulting us.
Well, that would pretty much sum up the NFL Amendment, wouldn't it? If they didn't care enough to file a grievance after that, after the catch rule and the helmet-to-helmet rules were in contact, because they didn't really care that much. But now there's a personal choice rule that was being put into play. Now they're going to start to care. That would pretty much sum up the way that the NFLPA is looked at from a lot of fans.
I don't know.
Do you agree, disagree?
I don't know how really I look at the NFL Players Association, to be honest with you. I really don't think about them as, as representatives, so to speak.
Until there's a players' strike and we don't have football.
And at that point, again, I'm at a point right now. I'm bringing this subject up. We're talking about it. We'll talk about the NFL on this program during the course of the upcoming season. But thankfully, we'll have a lot of other things to talk about with our local 6 high school football teams and high school football around the state as a whole, and the Shepherd University Rams and small college football. And, of course, listen to the West Virginia Mountaineers right here. And we'll talk about the Mountaineers as well. So we got plenty of other things to talk about, but we will talk about the NFL. But at this stage, I'm not looking forward to this season in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing at this moment compelling me to the NFL, and the Players Association filing this grievance against this, what seems to me to be a pretty reasonable national anthem policy. You work for the owners. They pay you very good money. They, as the owners, are trying to put a product on the field that you are a part of. I mean, you are that product. Going out and playing entertaining football. And the fans are saying, we just want you to play football. And so the owners are saying, look, if you don't want to stand for the national anthem, that's okay. But just let's not make any scenes or make ripples in this moment in time. And for the players to say, no, that infringes upon my rights and to make demands in this regard, I just want you to play football. That's what I want you to do. If you want to protest things, I don't mind that. I'll listen to that protest and I'll read that article and I'll watch that news footage and I'll see if I'm in agreement with what and how the player is protesting. But it's on your time, not on the team's time, not on the fans' time.
I agree with you in a way, and we're going to have to take this into the next segment because I have a couple more points I want to make on this. But I agree with you in what you're saying. We will talk more about this after our bottom of the hour break. We'll have news, weather, and a NBC Sports update. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg. We will be right back after this break.
See it all around. CBS News update. Republicans ripped into FBI agent Peter Strzok over his anti-Trump tweets during a Angelica Alvarez.
Sparks flew at the start of the hearing as House Republicans pressed Strzok to answer specific questions about the Russia probe.
Mr. Chairman, there's no basis for that. He can consult with the FBI counsel. He's an FBI employee. The
gentleman is not recognized.
And the chairman is not being proper.
President Trump has repeatedly pointed to Strzok's private text messages to prove the Russia investigation is a witch hunt.
Paula Reed says Strzok tried to explain his text, which said, "We'll stop it."
He believed that there are certain things that the now president had said about Khizr Khan, the father of a slain war hero, was, quote, horrible and disgusting. And he believed that, therefore, he would not be elected. So he's trying to indicate here that he wasn't going to do anything overt to stop the then candidate from becoming president. Not everyone is fully satisfied with this answer.
CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
With your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Dry weather and fair skies this evening, making for very comfortable conditions as we see temperatures dropping through the 70s into the 60s, especially late night. Our forecast low right near 61 degrees tomorrow morning. Lots of sunshine through the sunrise and right on through the day with a high near 86. Still not very humid, but it does get muggier and hotter for Saturday and Sunday. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Life is complicated, but your finances shouldn't have to be. At BCT, we simplify your financial life. Bank of Charlestown is a locally owned community bank with 7 conveniently located offices serving the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, Middleburg, Virginia, and their newest office in Hagerstown, Maryland. With over 140 years of experience, BCT is the tri-state area's choice for fast, convenient, and hassle-free banking solutions. Whether you are a high school senior looking for a student checking account, a college graduate purchasing a new car, a first-time home buyer, or investing for retirement, BCT has flexible solutions to fit your lifestyle. BCT is committed to providing everyday ways to simplify your financial life. Also, make sure you are following BCT on Twitter and Instagram at MyBCT or like their Facebook page to see how BCT reinvests local deposits back into the communities they serve. BCT, we simplify your financial life.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Serena Williams rolls to a victory, straight sets, so she moves on and now looking for her 8th Wimbledon crown. Angelique Kerber, also a winner, a 2-time Grand Slam champion, looking for her first ever Wimbledon. So the Hall of Fame has spoken and said on August 4th, Terrell Owens, he won't be there. We will not be talking about him either. They're basically going to ignore Tio. They'll send him his jacket at a different time. Zach Greinke is now an All-Star again, added to the NL All-Star team, replacing John Lester because Lester is pitching for the Cubs on Sunday. Speaking of pitching, some big-time matchups tonight. Yankees at Indians a little after 7 o'clock Eastern. Luis Severino looking for win number 15. Corey Kluber looking for win number 13. Rest of your scores and your stories, head to NBCSportsRadio.com. I'm Keith Irizarry, and this is NBC Sports Radio.
I'm Joe Ferretti of Ferretti Law Office. The most common question I hear from people injured in an automobile wreck or because someone else was at fault is, can their insurance company do that? If you call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505, I will answer that question and other questions you have for free. Get educated and get ready to fight back. Call 264-8505 to protect your rights and get the compensation you deserve. Put my 31 years of personal injury and trial experience to work for you. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
We're talking with former Berkeley County Commission President Bill Stubblefield.
Tom, good question. There is zone in the county, but it's in 3 very small geographic areas. Probably 3 or 4% of the county is zoned.
Tom, the 3 specific areas are the property to the left of Bill's place, the property to the right of Bill's place, and the property behind Bill's place.
And that would be the Potomac River.
Those are the 3 areas you can't develop in this county.
Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David. What did you listen to last week?
And we welcome you back in to Miller Time on this Thursday evening. Matt Miller along with Matt Crawford in studio. We've been talking a lot about the NFL, and we went into the break talking about the grievance filed by the Players Association against the league for the a new national anthem policy that is supposed to kick in this year. We'll get back to that conversation as our own Matt Crawford has a few comments to make in just a moment. But first, we have our feature to take care of here at this bottom of the hour.
Tomorrow in sports history, a new adjustment to our yesterday in sports history.
Not yesterday?
Not yesterday. We're doing tomorrow. Give you something to talk about at the water cooler at work, to impress your friends with knowledge with that morning text.
Okay, before you get started, then that leads to a question on air right now. This is we're ironing something out that we can also iron out later off air, but tomorrow's Friday. So
what do we do on Fridays?
Do we push it to Monday so we give you something to talk about on Monday when you get to the office, or do we go ahead and keep it Saturday and give you something to impress your friends over the weekend?
Over the weekend, you're getting together with your friends on a Saturday night to hang out, have bonfires or whatnot. I mean, we used to do on Mondays, do the yesterday in sports history.
Yeah, we did.
So that was over the weekend. So I think we just stick with it. And unfortunately, you will never hear what happens on a Sunday in sports history.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm bummed.
Or a Monday.
I was going to say, you won't find out much about Mondays either.
Yeah. Luckily, the actual days rotate every year. So
they do.
Eventually, we'll catch up to it. But let's take a look at what happens tomorrow, Friday the 13th. Stay away from black cats and ladders and cracks in the floor. But tomorrow, Friday the 13th, let's take a look at what's going on tomorrow in sports history. Starting off with a bunch of Wimbledons again, one of the tennis tournament. We'll start off in 1930. The first World Cup begins in Uruguay. So, World Cup going on right now. We have, Croatia and France
advancing
down to the
championship
round. France and the stunner Croatia.
That should be a fun 1-0 game.
Well, that's soccer for you at its finest. 1934, Babe Ruth hits home run number 700 against the Detroit Tigers, which again, we talked yesterday, and I thought it was absolutely amazing that you said he broke, and this happened today, really, if you think about it.
Right.
He broke the Major League all-time record of home runs in the 100s.
Right.
In that same career, he just hit number 700. So there wasn't a gradual spike in the home run leader in baseball. It went from the mid-100s to what did Babe Ruth hit? 740-some?
So
714. That's right, because Hank Aaron
went up to 740.
So that blew my mind yesterday when you said that just drastic spike in the home run leader.
Must have been the loaded baseball.
Yeah.
Or corked bats.
Corked bats. Swinging fungos. Moving down to 1950, doctors removed 7 bone fragments from Ted Williams' elbow. I don't know what, I'm guessing it was either hit by a pitch or something that caused that bone to shatter, but 7 were removed. 1962, the 91st British Golf Open. Arnold Palmer wins and shoots a 276. I believe the Golden Bear won yesterday, right?
I was going to say, yeah, just yesterday.
1963 future baseball Hall of Famer pitcher Early Wynn wins his 300th and last major league game at 43 years old.
You mean 43 years young?
43 years young.
Yeah.
You're right. My apologies. Another British Open for you, 1968. Gary Player shoots a 289 in Scotland to win the Open. Moving on down the list, 1972. The LA Rams and Baltimore Colts swap owners. Jim Irsay. What's Rosenblum's first name?
I don't remember.
Yeah, the name rings a bell. But apparently they swapped owners in 1972. I didn't know that.
I wonder what the price tag was. I'll buy your team, you buy mine, or if it was just a complete
swap,
straight switch.
Imagine if Irsay never got the Colts. We might still be talking about the Baltimore Colts.
My first NFL game in person as a kid was the Baltimore Colts and the Buffalo Bills at Old Memorial Stadium. Yep, we sat in the seats, what would have been behind home plate for a baseball game, the back of the end zone for a football game. Yep.
1979, Nolan Ryan and Steve Renko each lose a no-hitter in the 9th. Imagine seeing a dual no-hitter into the 9th inning.
That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The intensity level with every single at-bat is so incredible in those kind of games.
And staying consistent, because we keep bringing this up, 1994, O.J. Simpson gives hair samples for testing in the O.J. trial. We brought that up a lot just because it's one of those things that's fun. And one more for you. The 70th All-Star Game was played tomorrow in 1999. The AL wins 4-1 at historic Fenway Park in Boston. So that is your look at what's going on tomorrow in sports history.
The All-Star Game right around the corner. We'll talk a little more about it later in the program as the participants in the Home Run Derby announced, and there is a Washington National, as you would expect.
And how many Chicago Cubs?
2.
Okay, just wanted to hear you say that.
Trying to find out how they managed to get 2 guys in there.
Have 2 guys hitting the ball a mile on the team.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you got guys that hit not just home runs, but majestic home runs, that's what makes the Home Run Derby great. I mean, okay, to see a guy knock 9 or 10 out and their line drive shots that get 2 or 3 rows deep, it's still impressive. But
more than I could do.
When you get that guy that puts them like at the top of the lights at the stadium, and you put a hang time on it like a punt in the NFL, waiting to see when's that coming down and where.
Hit the Chris Berman back.
Yeah, you run out of backs. You just have to kind of stop and then let it come down. Those are the fun home runs. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But let's get back to the NFL. You wanted to make a point or two in relation to the Players Association and their grievance against the league over the new national anthem policy.
Your issue with the NFL recently, and stop me if I'm incorrect, this is just from us talking back and forth on and off air, is number one, the whole protest thing you just kind of turned you off. The way they did it.
I would not put that number one,
but one of the contributing factors.
Sure.
The overall prima donna aspect of a lot of the players now.
Part of it as well.
And the overall lack of, I don't know how to, the whole Jameis Winston thing, which is the lack of responsibility that teams are taking with players. Another contributing factor?
Yes. It all to me is almost equal. It's like the ball rolling down the hill, and all of those things combined.
It's snowballing. It started off something little, and as it rolls down the snow, it snowballs.
And what are the things that
bigger.
It really started with is just the play on the field.
Well,
what's a catch? What's not a catch? What's a fumble? What's not a fumble? Let's add instant replay and stop the game constantly so that we can all look at video that they show you on a TV screen, and I as a fan look at it and go, that's pretty obvious. And then they come out and call the exact opposite thing. And you just watch the overall, we talked about it earlier, I think the overall quality of play has been down. As we talk, guys trying to have the big hit, no longer able to make good fundamental tackles and plays because everybody wants to have the big things go on that, bad games, 3-0, and guys that can't run, guys that can't block, teams that can't score touchdowns, just all of those things. And then you start adding all the off the field stuff going on, the leagues fumbling those things, not handling them well, Roger Goodell not doing a good job as a commissioner, and then the anthem protests and the other things. You just kind of put all of it together, and it becomes that giant snowball rolling down a hill that has me going, whatever. I can watch high school, I can watch college, I can focus on those. Baseball's going to take me into October, maybe even November if the World Series goes 7 games. And then hockey will be back. I'll be paying some attention to the Capitals and their defense of the Stanley Cup championship. Oh, and Caleb's favorite, basketball will be back. And I'll pay a little attention to it. Obviously anxious to see how the Wizards do. And football will be there, but it certainly is not number one.
Here's my thing. The players, yes, I will. The certain level of play has gone down, and I will admit that. But the whole rule change thing, the changing of the rules, the protest is all stuff that in a lot of ways, all right, let's start with the rule changes. The players have no control over that. That is some old fart and another old fart sitting in a room going, here's how we're going to change things to make things better. The players have no control over that. So that's not a player thing. And at the end of the day, those rules may impact one of your team's games a year, maybe, at the end of the day. I mean, truly impact. I mean, you look at the Packers-Cowboys game in the playoffs a few years ago when the whole Dez Bryant catch, which was really the poster child of this rule. Obviously, those are big things, but that doesn't happen to every team every year. And with the whole anthem protest, and I said this last year, when I had people go, I don't know how you can watch the NFL anymore when they're protesting the anthem. You know what I do when I'm watching the anthem or when the anthem's playing? I have my hand over my heart. I'm looking at the huge flag in the middle of the field. I'm not paying attention to the sidelines and who's protesting. And after that, everybody plays football.
Now you're talking about actually being at the game.
Well, even if you're not at the game, don't watch the anthem. If it bothers you that much, just don't watch the anthem.
When did they start putting the anthem on TV?
I have no idea.
Because to be honest, I haven't had a TV in my home for years as far as connected to cable or something that gives me, a lot of live TV. So, and outside of maybe the big Super Bowl type of games, those type of games where they've got some superstar singer coming in to sing the national anthem, then clearly you see those. But otherwise, I'm trying to think of when, on a Sunday afternoon when you watched, Howie and Terry Bradshaw and all the guys back at the studio getting you geared up for the game, and then boom, hey, let's go out, and they join the action.
I'm still not sure they do that for every game. I think they do it on primetime games. But now that you say that, I don't think they show. I mean, a 1 o'clock game on Fox,
right?
I don't think they show the anthem. I'm not sure it's an every game type thing. But still, to me, it was always okay. The whole protest, I didn't agree with. I agreed with maybe what they were doing, but not how they were doing it. I shouldn't say. I agreed with what they were doing. I agreed that in some places in the world there are issues with equality. There still are. I mean, look at the Papa John's CEO that just stepped down because he's still using the N-word on a global conference. I mean, there's still part of that going on. Now, again, we're not getting into that on this show. It's not that kind of show. But I get why they were protesting and why they felt the need to. What I didn't agree with was how they were doing it. But at the end of the day, after the anthem, they all still put their helmet on and went out and played the game that I grew up loving. And I know there are a lot of people, and I don't know if you were one of these full-on-fledged people. I know Rob was. Rob Mario, the guy who runs our morning shift and is on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, when the Steelers stayed in the locker or stayed in the tunnel, and Alejandro Villanueva, who was an Army Ranger, stood at the entrance to the tunnel and was the only Steeler you could see. I know there were a lot of fans that said, I refuse to support any player who puts on the logo of the team that I used to love. And I refuse to support a logo of anybody who lets that represent my team, that was Rob's big thing. He said it was hard for him to watch or see that Steelers logo on the side of a helmet, knowing there were players that couldn't respect an Army Ranger like that. But to me, it was still at the end of the day, okay, I grew up loving the Redskins. My Sundays revolved around what time the Redskins played. They still do. And the Cubs are in D.C. the first Sunday of the NFL season. And I got tickets, and the first thing I thought of was I get to see the Cubs for the first time this year. Cool. Because I go every year to Nats Park. That's the first Sunday of Redskin football. And I looked at the time. So at the end of the day, my Sundays still revolve around Redskin football. And I don't think once the game starts, anything can really deter me or distract me from the fact that the burgundy and gold are still playing on the field.
So you'll be watching the Cubs in person while on your telephone you'll have the Redskins.
Cubs are at 1 o'clock. Redskins are in Arizona. They play at 4.
Ah,
it's perfect. I got a full day of sports.
So you have to listen to some of it.
I'll listen to probably midway through the first quarter, the whole first quarter. I'll listen to Larry and Chris and Doc and Sonny throwing in comments every 20 minutes that are 20 minutes late. But it just, to me, at the end of the day, you're still going to get 60 minutes of football. And that's what keeps me from not going, I'm done with it. It's still, at the end of the day, you're still watching the team that I grew up and idolized. Right. Still watching the burgundy and gold and watching them put on that burgundy helmet and playing 60 minutes of football. It may not be good football, but they're playing. So that, to me, that's why I can't just let it go. So that was the only other point I wanted to make, because you've watched this long enough that it's, I'm done with it.
For now.
And I think I think there really are two. You're one side of the spectrum with the NFL right now,
right?
And I think on the other side of the spectrum.
Yep. And there's plenty in between, because basically right now I would be a casual fan, so to speak. You know, I'll catch a little bit here or there. If I'm at my parents' house, you know, Sunday after church, gonna have a dinner and the game will be on. Yeah, I'll catch a little bit of it. I'll check the scores, hey, who's winning, who's losing. Like I said, I want to be prepared to talk about those things on Miller Time. I'll be casual, but the word fan, short for fanatic, not there at this stage of the game. Not overly excited about training camp getting started, not overly excited about 4 exhibition games that are 4 too many, well, 2 too many. I think they could get by with 2. If high school teams can play 2 scrimmage games, practice 4 weeks, and go into week 1, guys that are getting paid a lot of money to professionally play this game ought to be able to go play a couple of practice games and get out there and play. And please don't tell me it's all about evaluation. Those coaches know who.
Yeah, you're returning how many people from your squad last year.
Right. And we've got many shoes to fill.
Yeah. And you're going to keep your 1 through 4th round draft picks.
That's it. And so you've only got a few spots that you're really, really looking at in that situation. So again, it's all about a money grab on having those games and forcing season ticket holders to come. And it's part of that stuff that's just like, whatever.
Yep. All right, we got to get in our last break for the top of the hour, taking you to Nationals baseball at 6:30, the pregame, 7:10 first pitch at Citi Field. When we come back, we're going to revisit a topic we talked about earlier in the week regarding the All-Star game. And Matt doesn't know about this yet. We will talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg.
Black Betty, bam lamb, whoa, Black Betty, bam lamb, Black Betty had a child, bam lamb.
You know why it's especially nice when you buy her a gift from our store? Because she knows the only reason you did it is because you love her so much. I mean, you'd rather be on the golf course practicing your chip shot, right? The golf course is like your home away from home. As for jewelry stores, you can't wait to get out if you do go in. Hi, I'm Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. And guys, the good news is she really will know you did it for her. You stepped out of your comfort zone in a big way, all to please her, and she will love you for it. She knows where you'd rather be, and it really tickles her that you came to her home away from home. So come on in, and when she opens her gift and reacts to it, well, there's a good chance you'll find yourself in our store again. Yes, because you love her, and because you love how she loves you for loving her so much. Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South in Inwood, will have you in and out before you know it, and you'll still have time to practice your putting.
Burke, Schultz, Harmon, and Jenkinson, where accident, injury, and disability lawyers with over 120 years combined local trial experience. When injury or illness has stopped you from working, you may be eligible for Social Security disability. Ron Harmon has been winning disability claims for over a quarter of a century. Don't hire some out-of-state firm. Ron Harmon's in Martinsburg. He will meet with you right here in our office. Get a local lawyer you can trust. Call 304-LAWYERS for a free consultation. 304-LAWYERS or 304-263-0900.
Do you hear that? Nothing beats the sound of summer unless it's finding a way to make cleaning your pool easier. Now you can with Pool Life. Our complete line of premium pool care products is the easiest solution under the sun for crystal clear, clean pool fun. Get the most brilliant clean ever seen all summer long with Pool Life. Only at fine pool dealers like John's Pool Supplies, close to Gold's Gym on Eagle School Road in Martinsburg. Ask about quality PVC hot tubs. Phone 267-2000 or go online at johnspoolsupplies.com.
WVU Medicine welcomes Dr. Sarika Bagri to the staff at WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood. Dr. Bagri is board certified in internal medicine and is now accepting new patients at Primary Care Inwood, conveniently located at 5047 Jaredstown Road, Suite 2B in the Inwood Medical Building. For more information or to schedule an appointment with Dr. Bagri, call WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood at 304-229-6343. 304-229-6343.
As Asanovic goes to second with a 2 RBI double, and Martinsburg is on the board first.
This is West Virginia State delegate and former Little League All-Star Jason Barrett. I can still remember those summer days, the fun of playing baseball, building friendships, and learning lessons that are still with me today as I serve the people of the 61st District. I'm proud to support this year's All-Stars and wish the best to each team.
61st District Delegate Jason Barrett. Trusted leadership, real solutions. I'm going to let you welcome us back in.
Welcome you back into Miller time. We have a few minutes left. We got to get in our top of the hour break again, taking you to 6:30 tonight and Nationals baseball as they open up their last series before the All-Star break in New York against the Mets.
Just figuring if you're going to throw me a curveball, I'll let you open.
I'm not throwing you a curveball necessarily. We had talked about this already. We're going back to the All-Star game and what they should be playing for. I have an idea for you. The idea was put in my head, and I still like the idea of them playing for something other than a win or a loss. In the World Series, the rules of the designated hitter change depending on where you're playing, correct?
Right.
What if they played for that rule all the way throughout a World Series? How would you feel about that?
So the winning...
if the AL won, the DH would be in effect the entire World Series. The NL won, there would be 1 through 9 pitcher hitting for themselves all the way through the World Series.
I don't know. To me, the hard part about that, although you've got interleague play that is now going on a regular basis. When interleague play first started, it was minimal.
Yeah, it was like one 2-week period, wasn't it?
And now you're seeing interleague because both leagues now have 15 teams. So you're seeing an interleague series all the time. So it maybe is not as much of a discrepancy or disparity, but I would think that it hurts the American League team far more than the National League team if the rules get switched. Because for the National League team to not have a pitcher hit, all right, no big deal. I got a guy off the bench who's going to get some at-bats that hasn't gotten as many in a game situation that I might like him to get anyway. That's okay with me. I get a better bat in the lineup. For the American League team, they're going, whoa, wait a minute. I got pitchers that really haven't hit a whole lot all year that now suddenly have to hit not just in a couple of games, but every game.
They're going to have to do that anyway.
But only a limited amount of time. So what I'm saying is the benefit to the National League team of having a DH far outweighs in any way what would be the disadvantage of the American League team, who now has to have their pitcher hit in 7 straight games as opposed to just playing the...
You don't know it's going to go 7.
No, but I'm assuming. Let's see if it does go 7. That would be my only thought about that. I mean,
do you like that idea better than playing for home field advantage?
Well, better. Yeah, definitely. There's home field advantage is based on what you do in the season. And I need to go back and correct myself because I think I came off the other day as thinking like, or at least saying when I say the All-Star game is meaningless, I don't mean that in the sense that it has no meaning or significance. Clearly, you want to be considered the best at what your trade is. You want to work hard. You want to play hard. You want to practice hard. You want to perform well. You want to be recognized. And so it is an important game, and it is a big deal for each of those players and managers that get to be a part of that game. So there's meaning in the game itself, but the meaning is the game itself. What my thought is, or process in my mind is, as far as it's a meaningless game, it should not have meaning towards what's happening in the regular season, how teams end up being positioned or having some sort of advantage or disadvantage, especially when it comes to the World Series.
All right. I'll go with you on that. All right, we got to get in our top of the hour break. When we come back, we will talk with Gary Geffert of the Martinsburg Blue Sox, talk some semi-pro baseball. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Both terroristic threats and public intoxication charges for a Florida man. The Journal reports police is saying 50-year-old Matthew Taylor was drunk when he threatened workers at a convenience store in Jefferson County this past weekend, allegedly after trying to leave the place without paying for a hot dog. Once in the patrol car, Taylor allegedly threatened the police as well. West Virginia U.S. Representative Evan Jenkins has announced that the Nicholas County Farmland Protection Board has received a federal grant of more than $100,000 from the National Park Service to protect the Battle of Kessler's Crossroads Civil War battlefield. The grant from the Park Service's American Battlefield Protection Program will be used to acquire a nearly 100-acre portion of that battlefield. Jefferson County Schools announcing that Kerry Mahoney has been named principal of South Jefferson Elementary School. Mahoney began her career in education as a third-grade teacher at South Jefferson 21 years ago. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Dry weather and fair skies this evening, making for very comfortable conditions as we see temperatures dropping through the 70s into the 60s, especially late night. Our forecast low right near 61 degrees tomorrow morning. Lots of sunshine through the sunrise and right on through the day with a high near 86. Still not very humid, but it does get muggier and hotter for Saturday and Sunday. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Will Greer to David Sills is a winning combination WVU fans know well.
Greer throwing toward the end zone. Ball caught. Post pattern. Sills. Touchdown. David Sills holds it in.
The Mountaineers, Talk Radio WRNR, and your business is a dynamic combination like no other. Contact our station to add your company to the coverage of the great tradition of West Virginia Mountaineer football and basketball. Heard right here on Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station.
Why Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota in Martinsburg? Because we're a name you can trust. And you can trust that you'll always find a large selection of over 400 new Chevrolets and a wide selection of new Toyotas at unbeatable prices. How unbeatable? Well, we will not be beat on any deal on any new Chevrolet or Toyota. That's right. You will not find a lower price, guaranteed. From Chevy Cruzes, Malibus, Impalas, Equinox, Suburbans, Silverados, to Toyota Yaris, Corollas, Camrys, Avalons, and more. No one beats an Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota deal. And remember to check your mailbox for this month's specials and great savings. Simply put, if you're in the market or will soon be in the market for a new or newer vehicle, check out all that Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota has to offer. We're Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota in Martinsburg. Or online at applevalleychevy.com. That's applevalleychevy.com. Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota, a name you can trust.
We have the tools. We have the talent. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
And welcome back in to Miller Time, taking you to 6:30 in Washington Nationals baseball. The Nationals trying to get back in the win column tonight, visiting the New York Mets. The Nats coming off of a loss yesterday in a day game to the Pittsburgh Pirates, 2-0 the final. Washington drops 2 out of 3 to the Pirates to open the 7-game road trip before going into the All-Star break. And now it shows that those 3 wins in 4 games against Miami over the weekend
didn't mean jack.
That's it. They had a chance to lose 3 out of 4 the way those games played out. And as exciting as it was to come from a 9-0 deficit and get a win, as exciting as it was to get a walk-off victory on a home run from Mark Reynolds, as thrilling as it was to see Reynolds then have 10 runs batted in and you get a blowout win, you then turn around and lose in a blowout fashion in the series finale and now lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. And looking back, realize we really stole a couple of games in there, or it would be even worse. This team is still reeling.
They are, and they're facing a Mets team now that just stole a couple from the division-leading Philadelphia Phillies. So, again, this is a rivalry game, so you're still going to get their best. And, again, this could be a Nats team that could right now could be realistically 2 or 3 games under 500 going into the All-Star break.
And that is hard to imagine, especially when you consider this number. Anthony, our crack research intern from Shepherd University, helping to share these numbers with me. Do you realize that at the end of May, the Nationals were 33-23, 10 games above 500? Since the start of the month of June, 13-23. Think about that. They've lost the same number of games, and yet they've won 20 fewer than what they did in the earlier part of the year. When they were at 33-23, that's when you and I on this program were saying, all right, they're battling Atlanta for that top spot. Once they get the lead.
My famous words, I don't think if they beat Atlanta, they'll ever Because they took a half game lead.
They did. They beat them
they beat them the first game. And I said if they win tonight, I don't expect them to give up the lead. And now what are they? 5.5 back? 6.5
back, I believe it is now. Because last night Atlanta got a 9-5 victory over Toronto, while the Mets beat Philadelphia 3-0. So I believe that puts Atlanta and Philly back into a tie, and with the Nationals losing, drops them. I believe it's maybe a full 6 back as opposed to 5.5 because they played earlier in the day. But either way, they got a lot of ground to try to make up.
And a good division.
Yeah. The way that Atlanta and Philly are playing, it's going to be an interesting race. By the way, it's Max Scherzer on the hill tonight, so that's good news.
The only hope they have on the mound right now.
The good news for the Nationals. Game time 7:05, the pregame 6:30. Before we get into a little more all-star festivities, let's jump into some local baseball, Blue Ridge League style, as earlier today we had a chance to catch up with the, I guess you call him owner, operator, manager of the Martinsburg Blue Sox, Gary Geffert.
We love talking to Gary.
He is definitely fun to talk to. His baseball knowledge is there.
Through the roof.
A White Sox fan through the ages, and he's into the history of the game.
He picked the wrong side of Chicago.
You and he'll have to hash that one out.
He picked the south side, and we should have gone up north.
Well, the Blue Sox this year, a lot of good young local talent. Some guys right out of high school, some guys who have been playing college ball, and they've put together a pretty good year. Right now we understand 12 wins and 9 losses, and coming off of a 2-1 win against the Hagerstown Braves last night. That was a non-Blue Ridge League game, so an out-of-conference game, but nonetheless a big win for the Martinsburg Blue Sox. As we started our conversation, we asked manager Gary Geffert about the win.
But it was a really good ball game. A lot of good defense. Chris Longo just pitched a great game. Only gave up, I think, 3 hits. Had him shut out going into the 7th inning, and it ran into a little bit of trouble. Part of it, a bunt that the guy probably had beat out anyway and shouldn't have made the throw, and so all of a sudden there's a guy on second, and then we got it out, and then he walked a guy, and we brought in Brian Bayless, who's pitched some in relief for us and been doing pretty good. He gave up a walk, and then we got a ground that loaded the bases. Ground ball to third baseman. Colby Weary made a nice play on it, throws to home, short hopped it, but Tyler Sines, who was playing behind the plate last night, made a really nice play on it. Played it like a shortstop. Of course, he'd been playing shortstop for Musselman all year. Get the force, and then the next guy hits a line drive that we think is right at the third baseman, and it just tailed on him, and he couldn't handle it, tied up the ball game. That was that was 1-1. And we got our run actually on their error. Bradley Forster, first year he's playing for us, doesn't look like fast because he's a tall guy. I mean, looks like a ball player, but doesn't look fast. But he runs track up at Frostburg, and his speed, little ground ball, but he forced an error, forced him to hurry the throw. All of a sudden he's on first. We get a bunt over. And then Darren Zombro hit a double over the left fielder's head that gave us the lead back in the 5th inning. So it's 1-1 going into extra innings, and we get up, and our first hitter, Nathan Kerr, who played for Washington last year, doubles down the left field line. We move him over with a sacrifice, and then with 2 outs, Forster again hits a, not hard, but a slow bouncing ball to shortstop. Shortstop having to hurry because he got good speed, boots it. And that was our winning run. And then Bayless came in and got a pop-up and 2 strikeouts in the bottom half of the 8th. So that was a really good ball game.
Reaching the end of the regular season, 12-9, the record right now. Just take us through how this season's gone.
It's been up and down. We started out fast. We won 4. And then we started hitting some dry spells. We didn't hit a little bit. Defense sagged a little bit. Starting pitching has generally been pretty good, but we'd had trouble at the back ends of the game. We blew a few leads doing that, and part of it also it's summer baseball, and you don't always have the full contingent. Depends on who's there. Everybody we got can play. We've been playing much better baseball the last couple of weeks. There was a team came down from Cumberland, the Cumberland Orioles. They play in the Penn Mar League. Came down for a doubleheader on a Saturday, and Bo Lowry, who's still rehabbing from both arm surgery and knee surgery in the last couple of years. It's not a pitch count, but threw a perfect game. I mean, he struck out 14 guys in the 7 innings and threw 72 pitches. Think about that. 14 strikeouts and only 72 pitches. And there was not a hard hit ball the whole game. One fly ball to the outfield that was routine and some routine ground balls for the other outs. And in the second game, we came out, and in the first inning, we were just terrible. A part of it was the heat. I mean, it was so hot. I ran through 3 catchers in the second game. They just got tired and dehydrated. But we booted the ball around in the first 2 innings and got down by 6, and then we started hitting the baseball and ended up winning at 17-9. And since then we played better baseball. Results haven't always been great, but we've been playing tough and lost a couple close ones. Dropped one where we gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the last inning to lose 4-3 to the Orioles, who were first place team, and they haven't lost yet. And then we lost to them the other night, 2-1. Had the tying run on second base with 1 out, just couldn't get him in. So I'm optimistic about how we're going to do as we come into the playoffs here. And we're playing much better ball and coming together.
Speaking of the playoffs, give us an idea of how you have played against the teams within the Blue Ridge League and what your expectations are for the postseason.
Well, with the first round of playoffs is between the second and third place teams. We're third, so we'll play the Pirates, who finished second, and that'll be best out of 3. So that's a quick start. Next Tuesday night at their place. They play up in Williamsport now. We beat them the first game. Time we played them, and then we've lost the last 3 times. Close ball games. We just haven't been able. Part of our problem there is being able to get runners in from third base with less than 2 outs. We just didn't hit well. Of course, part of it is their pitching too, but we play them again tonight. But I'm optimistic about how we're going to do because we have scored some runs against them, and I like the way our pitching is shaking up coming into the playoffs. And Bo Lowry in particular has been just outstanding every time he's pitched, and he's got a few more pitches to give us, so I think we'll get a few more innings out of him. And Brian Bayless is somebody who's been bugging me for a couple of years to pitch, and he plays the outfield, and everybody wants to get on the mound, but we were in a game where we needed some innings and from people, and he came in and he's pitched really well. He's made a believer out of me. I had to apologize for not listening to him the last couple of years. So I'm feeling pretty good about how we're going to do.
Williamsport on the schedule tonight to close out the regular season. Is it nice to be able to see them before going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get. Yeah, we play each other because there's only 4 teams in the league this year, so we played everybody 5 times, and you like to see a little more difference. That's why we scheduled a bunch of out of league games. We had 7 out of league games. Bidwell and Nosey was 6-1. So tonight we'll see some of their guys that they may not want us to see, and they'll see one of our guys that who beat them the first game. Cody Butts is going to start for us, and he pitched a complete game to beat him 4-1 the first time we played him, and haven't showed him to him since. But yeah, we'll go out there and see what happens.
Well, Gary, have a good game tonight, and we'll look forward to talking with you again as you get into the postseason next week.
Good deal. Thanks for calling.
There you go. Gary Geffert, manager of the Martinsburg Blue Sox, back in action. In fact, getting ready to throw out the first pitch over in Williamsport, Maryland, as they take on the Boonesboro Pirates as they're getting underway about 6:15. He said that will pretty well be wrapping up their regular season, and they'll face those same Pirates in the playoffs next week, and we'll catch up with Gary then.
Would not recommend getting on 81 North right now to go to Williamsport to see that game. Right now it looks like a bad accident on 81 northbound right in the Falling Waters area, again past Spring Mills but before the state line, right about smack dab in the middle. 81 northbound is slowed to a crawl and may be completely stopped, so if you can avoid that area, I would do it.
Well, and that is the area where you are seeing them expanding to 3 lanes. And, of course, the bridge work going on over the Potomac. And so in that work area, there seems to be an accident. Look for alternate routes if you are heading north. All right, let's see. Do we need to get in a break? Yeah, why not? It's 6:15. We'll come back, and we need to talk a little college football, but as well, we'll check in on the All-Star
Home Run Derby, as we now know who the participants will be. And one of them is a Washington National. Bet you don't know who.
I bet I can guess.
Yeah, I bet you can too. Should he be there? Either way, he is. We'll talk more about Bryce Harper and the Home Run Derby next on Miller Time.
A 4-barrel car, but do legs all split for 11 gears, you can really get lost.
You know why it's especially nice when you buy her a gift from our store? Because she knows the only reason you did it is because you love her so much. I mean, you'd rather be on the golf course practicing your chip shot, right? The golf course is like your home away from home. As for jewelry stores, you can't wait to get out if you do go in. Hi, I'm Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. And guys, the good news is she really will know you did it for her. You stepped out of your comfort zone in a big way, all to please her, and she will love you for it. She knows where you'd rather be, and it really tickles her that you came to her home away from home. So come on in, and when she opens her gift and reacts to it, well, there's a good chance you'll find yourself in our store again. Yes, because you love her, and because you love how she loves you for loving her so much. Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South in Inwood, will have you in and out before you know it, and you'll still have time to practice your putting.
The Tri-County Pastoral Counseling Service will hold its 5th annual Scramble Golf Outing on Monday, June 25th at the Mountain View Championship Course at the Woods, with registration at 11 a.m. and shotgun start at 12 noon. Rain or shine, come try your golf game out with us, and maybe you just might represent us in the Tournament of Champions. Great golf, great fellowship, great food, plus prizes too. Can't beat that. Hope to see you there. 304-839-3300.
From the moment you're greeted at the front door, step back in time to a classic speakeasy-style restaurant and bar, Boyd's Steakhouse, featuring only the finest steaks, chops, and seafood. Come see why Boyd's Steakhouse is the friendliest place in town with the best food around. Open for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Boyd's Steakhouse on North Queen Street in the heart of downtown Martinsburg. Boyd's Steakhouse. How about tonight?
When it comes to protecting what matters most, it makes sense to choose an insurance agent that's a part of your community. Your local Allstate agent knows the ins and outs of both owning and protecting a home in your neighborhood. By choosing a local Allstate agent, you get an expert who knows the community and is committed to getting to know you, which means you'll get the protection that fits you and your life. Are you in good hands? Contact Martinsburg Allstate agent Gary Kelly today for a free quote at 263-4596. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company. Simply Free e-checking from City National Bank. Perfect if you want basic checking with no monthly service fees or balance requirements. Stop by any of our 7 Eastern Panhandle locations or visit us online at bankatcity.com. City National Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We welcome you back into Miller Time. Just about 11 minutes left before we've got to get you to Washington Nationals baseball, getting ready to take on the Mets tonight. Let's turn our attention again to the All-Star game. The Home Run Derby participants have been announced, and this will be your opening rounds. Are you ready? It will be, if I can get my glasses up correctly, Jesus Aguilar of Milwaukee with 23 home runs going against Rhys Hoskins of Philadelphia with 14. Pretty impressive. Hoskins came on late last year and was just dominant in the way that he was hitting home runs in a short amount of time at 14 home runs already this year. Going to be interesting to see a young guy like that in the competition.
That's the, was it godson?
Yeah.
Of David Welch.
So I'll be anxious to get his input on that, as I'll fill in for Rob Mario next week, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit with David Welch about Hoskins. All right, then it's Alex Bregman of Houston with 19 homers against Kyle Schwarber. You heard of him, Matt?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, as a Cubs fan?
He can hit the ball.
He can. He's got 17 home runs on the season. Bregman has 19. Those two go against each other, and the winner of that matchup goes against the Aguilar-Hoskins winner. Then on the other side, you've got Max Muncy of the Dodgers with 21 going up against Javi Baez. Who does he play for again?
He's a Cub as well.
That's right.
There's two.
He's a Cub. Yeah, he's got 18 home runs.
Javi Baez will be fun just because he's so flashy.
Yeah.
He's not he is a power guy, but not a gigantic power guy. probably one of the favorites to win, but he's just going to be fun just because he's flashy.
Personality.
You never know what you're going to get.
Well, then it's Freddie Freeman of Atlanta with 16 home runs.
He found the youth juice, didn't he?
And he's going against Bryce Harper of our Washington Nationals, who has 22 home runs. I find that fascinating that Washington's chasing Atlanta and you put a Brave and a National together in the home run derby.
Well, Freddie Freeman's having a career year, and when he shouldn't be having a career year.
And I'm assuming that as I looked back through, they're basically putting them in order based on how many home runs they have hit. And so it's 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and line them up and see how many home runs you can hit. I'll be anxious to see. I was just reading an article. Article? I don't know what happened there. I was just reading an article off of ESPN that was really kind of, hitting Harper hard about the way he has played this year. And the writer comments that a lot of it seems to be that he's been trying to hit home runs to a point where he quotes an American League scout as basically saying he's trying to hit 9,000 home runs, and says he's basically making a fool of himself, and that it's costing him. And a little later on, this writer talks about comments that were even made by Harper after taking some extra BP before a game in Pittsburgh and then hitting a home run. He was asked about the extra batting practice. He said, just hit some home runs. I was trying to hit the ball as far as I could. A little while later against the Phillies, similar situation. He hits one out to dead center. He was asked about it. It's not how far you hit it, he said. It's about how many. So a couple of quotes that this guy's taking out of some comments from Harper in the early part of the season and saying he's trying to hit as many home runs as he can, and it's hurting him at the plate.
So those guys get the big contracts. The guys with the biggest contracts, the guys that are going to put butts in the seats because they're going to hit the ball 450 feet.
But Bryce Harper, to me,
I'm not saying it's right, and I think he's a good all-around player.
Well, that's it. If you just go out there and do what you're capable of doing, let the home runs come. I would rather see a guy hit 300 or flirt with even the upper 300s to 400 and be on base a lot. And the way he plays with the intensity level and the enthusiasm to see him running the bases, maybe stealing a base, things like that. I would like to see that. Now, do I want to see a home run from him? Sure. I don't mind seeing him blast one 400 plus feet. But if the consequence, the risk reward, if you will, of having him hit 60 home runs is to also watch him strike out 160 times and have a 218 batting average, come on. I don't want that many home runs then. I want to just see you be a natural, all-out, good, all-around player.
I agree. No retort here.
And I'm one who in the game of baseball, I like a well-played game, and I like low-scoring games. I want to see good pitching, good defense, and good offense. Guys coming up with clutch hits, something the Nationals have not been doing. Guys stealing bases, making things happen. I love that style of baseball. A home run added in there, sure. I like the long ball as much as anybody else. But if it's all about the long ball and 9 to 8 games, count me out. That's not what I'm in for. All right, let's go to college football. A word coming out late yesterday afternoon from the Big 12 that they have cast, I guess, the votes for preseason honors. Let me first ask, how much does this mean? Will Grier, quarterback of the West Virginia Mountaineers, the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year.
Just means you have a bigger target on your back. Which means that if you don't live up to those expectations, you're considered a failure.
I was going to say, so if you're not the player of the year at the end of the year, was it a failed season?
No, it wasn't.
No.
People are going to look at it like that, but it's not. I mean, if Will Grier is considered the best player in the Big 12 right now, but he comes up second or third in the voting, that's a good season.
I can understand that you may put out preseason, all-conference teams.
Yeah, but I don't know how you predict the best player in the. I mean, you can have. Well, they should do it. The Heisman has the watch list.
Mm-hmm.
The Player of the Year should have the watch list. We're looking at these 5 or 8 players that we think could end up being the Player of the Year this year. I don't know how you predict a Player of the Year.
But Will Grier's got that target on his back in both of those categories. You just said a Heisman watch list. He's on that one. Already a website. Go check it out. Just type in Will Grier for Heisman, and you'll be able to find it.
Will Grier, 7 Heisman.
7 Heisman.
Yeah, that's his number.
So you want Will? See, there it is. Matt's already not only looked it up, he has put it to his memory. Well, we grabbed a couple of comments from him through WVUsports.com as reporters in Morgantown got a chance to catch up with him and ask him about some various aspects of his game. Matt, let's start with the one where they ask him about being a Heisman hopeful, since that's kind of where our conversation has led.
Yeah, I think it's great for the university, and I'd love to bring a Heisman here in Morgantown. I think that'd be awesome. But the main thing that I'm focused on is just trying to go 1-0 every week. Win games. I think we got a special team and a special group of coaches. So my main goal is to win, and stuff will kind of take care of itself. But like I said, it'd be great to bring a Heisman back to Morgantown.
You certainly like his approach. Look, I just want to win games. That other stuff will take care of itself. How about last year? Grier completes 64% of his passes for 3,490 yards, 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and does that over a span of only 10 games before going down with a finger injury.
And that's after not playing for an entire season. After the whole transfer issue from Florida and having to sit out, that's after not playing for a whole season. You give him a year of experience and then build on top of that, I think he's going to be dangerous this year. I think he deserves all the Heisman projections in the play. While I think it's hard to predict a player of the year, I think it's hard not to look at him and think he possibly could be.
All right, he's got a target who is a first-team all-conference selection. Of course, Grier, a first-teamer as well, if he's going to be considered your offensive player of the year before the season gets started. David Sills, who we're talking about, the wideout last year, 60 catches for 980 yards, 18 touchdowns, an average of 16.3 yards a catch. He's pretty good.
He was, and that was one of the most dynamic combos in all college football last year, and I expect it to be just as dangerous this year.
Can it be just as dangerous when you consider that everybody's going to be gunning for both of these guys? Defenses are going, we've got to find a way to slow down Grier, and we've got to find a way to defend Sills and not let him catch the football.
I think that's why I'm piggybacking off what we talked about yesterday. I think that's why Jake Spavital, the offensive coordinator, is trying to implement tight ends and kind of change the offense up a little bit.
Tight ends? Did Will Grier talk about that as well?
He did. This is what he had to say about it.
It's just a different offense than we had last year. Not offense, but it's a different group of guys. Last year was more fullback oriented. We've kind of moved towards tight ends. That's just how the team is now. And we'll include a lot of the same stuff that we were doing last year. We'll still be there. I don't know how much will change it. These guys can run around and catch the ball, so we'll definitely find a way to get the ball in their hands, but it's not going to be a whole lot.
Well, yesterday we heard just briefly from and talked a little bit about Trayvon Wesco, the former Musselman standout, who is now 6'4", 270. He was a big load in high school, especially playing a little quarterback, could play a little wide out, could play a little bit in the backfield as a running back. He was a big threat. But, wow, to picture him being 270 pounds as a tight end for the Mountaineers, he's going to be a big target.
And it's going to help. Again, I think you add a big tight end or a tight end in general just into that offense that can handle the middle of the field. It's going to open up the deep game.
By the way, rounding out first-team selections from the Mountaineers on the preseason Big 12 first team, it's Yadni Kajust, and he's an offensive lineman, by the way, and then linebacker David Long. Long's going to have to lead that defense that struggled last year. They're going to have to play better this year.
Struggled a lot.
We'll have a lot more on the Mountaineers as we get closer to the season. Catch Mountaineer football and basketball right here on Talk Radio WRNR. For Matt Crawford, I'm Matt Miller. That does it for today's Miller Time. Stay tuned for Washington Nationals baseball.
Baseball is back in Washington, D.C.
Solis ready to pitch. Swing a line drive.
by Zimmerman. He'll go to first. Double play. Going to throw it across the diamond and get the out there. It's a triple play. It's a triple play. It's a triple play. Unbelievable. And the Nationals are out of the inning.
How about a grand slam for 100? The kick, the pitch.
Swing a long drive. Right field. Way back. It is number 100. It is a grand slam for Bryce Harper. Listen to this crowd. Home run number 100 is his